Welcome to this very special edition of the KJ Masterclass Live, the show which ensures that you profit from your time spent here with experts, either through their industry insights, information, or simply learning from them. And today we have Paul Skidmore, author and filmmaker. We'll talk about his book, his upcoming movie, and also learn how small acts of kindness and encouragement can create a lasting impact. Welcome to the show, Paul.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. Welcome to the show. Welcome to India in this online form, Paul. And I'm sure not just in India, but a lot of people across the globe will benefit from what we are going to talk right now. We'll talk about how one can find light in life's dark moments. We'll learn all that about you, about your book, about your upcoming movie. We'll all learn all that. But before that, let's learn a bit about your background, your journey, so that people know who they are listening to.
Absolutely. Well, I'm an author and filmmaker. I live in Tennessee in the United States, and I've been storytelling since I was 5. Little local storytelling contests at our public library as a child, and I was always fascinated with theater and our home video camera. And then once I got into high school, computers. And all of that really combined in college into going to film school and learning how to make movies at a cinema level, at a Hollywood level. And so since then, I've done various film video production things. I decided not to go to Los Angeles, Hollywood, to make movies, but to do something more independent. And so I've stayed here in Tennessee and have been working to sort of build my own thing here. And a few years ago, I decided I would write some short stories because it's a little cheaper and easier to do than making a whole movie. And one of the short stories I wrote is called "The Darkness Rolled Over Her," and it deals with the topic of suicide, with themes of hope and encouragement, the importance of human connection. And once I got done with that story, which I had begun writing really as a writing exercise, and then it just sort of took on a life of its own. And so once I got done with the story, I had several people comment to me about some of the themes in it, and I could see it was really striking a chord with people, that it was really giving people a way to talk about things that they didn't normally talk about. And so because of that, around the book, we developed a little mini book club that I call 5 Coffees in a Book. And we've got a little discussion guide so that you can read the book and talk about it with a friend. And then looking at the story, I thought, there's not but 4 characters in this. It's all outside during the day for the most part. I've got a camera, I've got microphones, I've got, battery powered lights for some of the night scenes, that sort of thing. And I talked with my buddy Noah. We decided that we could do it. He encouraged me that, yeah, we could do it. We could get volunteer cast, we could get volunteer crew. And so in the fall of 2020, we made a movie of it, made a feature-length film, and it's very close to being done. We've spent several years now on all the post-production stuff. I've been doing most of it myself. Noah has been helping me all along the way, but I've been doing a lot of the heavy lifting. And so we're coming to the end, and it's really starting to come together. It'll be out later this year, and I'm excited to share it with everyone, because I think the theme in it, as you mentioned before, this idea of being able to find your way to the light, when things are dark, I think that's something that everyone can relate to at various levels, but particularly with the idea of suicide. That's something that has been on the rise recently, especially since the pandemic. The pandemic really pushed people into isolation, which made that issue worse and really brought it to the forefront for a lot of people. So I think the book is going to be helpful. I think the 5 Coffees in a Book reading, the mini book clubs, is going to be really helpful for people sharing, and the film is going to be a great way for people to connect with it as well. So it's interesting that I tried for so many years to figure out how can I get a good movie off the ground, and it took me sort of setting that aside and becoming an author on the side that really got my film career where I wanted it. So that's my background, and that's how I got to where we are today.
Absolutely. Sometimes what you want to do, you don't do. God guides you in that, and this looks like to be a clear. Tell us a bit about your other work, and then we'll come to the book part of it. How should people know you as an author, as a filmmaker? Obviously, through your work, help them understand what you have been doing, other sort of work, and so that people know, okay, this is what you are. this was your first thing. You worked in Kindling, short stories, and others also.
Yeah, absolutely. So you can go to my website, parabolos.com, parabolos.com. And there you can look at some of the short films that I've done. You can see links to my books, audio versions of the books, ebook versions of the books, blog, podcast. There's a whole bunch of stuff on there that you can really explore. As you mentioned, I do have some other books. So I've got The Darkness Rolled Over Her here in paperback. The first short story I had was Kindling. This was an idea that I'd had in my head for about 10 years, I guess. And, but had just never really committed it to paper really in any meaningful way. It was too short to be a movie. And I thought, well, maybe I'll make it a scene of something larger, which I may still do, but just really didn't have any outlet for it. And so when I decided to write, I actually started working on a novel, which I haven't finished. But as I got about 10 chapters into the novel, I thought, this is a pretty big undertaking, something I've never done. And I'm going to need to learn how to do Facebook ads and the printing process and how to do self-publishing and all that stuff. And maybe I don't want to learn how to do that with like a big important novel. Maybe I just need to scratch out a short story real quick. And so I actually wrote this very quickly because, like I said, it had been in my mind for about 10 years. But Kindling is kind of a thriller. If you're in the United States, it's kind of a Southern thriller, Southern kind of folksy feel. And it's a lot of fun. I like it. The prose of this book is probably my favorite of all my books that I've written. I really like the way that it's written. So that was my first short story. I got a really good response on that. At the time, it was not really economical to do paperbacks. It was just going to be too expensive. I thought it would be worth people to buy the book for it's 36 pages, So I thought I'll do several other short stories and I'll make an anthology. And so that's when I decided to write a fly fishing story, which ended up becoming The Darkness Rolled Over Her. I wrote a little 16-page story called Ciao Bella, which is a mostly true memoir about my time in Italy, meeting the most beautiful woman I'd ever seen. And then I had another short story, which became kind of a long story. And I sort of accidentally wrote my first novel because of that. I broke the 40,000 word mark and wrote God Rest You Merry Gentlemen. It's a Cold War Christmas story. This is something that it's kind of based on a true story and a story that I've known about for a long time. And it's always been kind of a fun story to me. And I thought I'd like to watch a movie about that, but a movie doesn't exist about that. So I wrote it. So that's, what a lot of authors do. If there's a book you want to read and it doesn't exist, you just write it yourself. And so those are some of my books. Short films that I've got on the website mostly are written by other people or collaborations with other people, but you ought to be able to see my directing style in there. I don't really have a genre. That's the first thing a lot of people ask an author or a filmmaker, what's your genre? What kind of books do you read? What kind of movies do you like? I'm not a genre guy. I just like things that are good. I like things that are well done. I really love a good redemptive story. And I like it, especially if it's tough, if the character really has to work to find redemption. That's just something I connect with and appreciate and value. And so my stories are very diverse in terms of their style, their genre, but they all sort of follow one character who's really searching for something and comes to some redemptive moment at the end.
Absolutely, absolutely. Now let's come to your this particular story, your book, The Darkness Rolled Over Her. Is it the title is good, but I want to understand it better in terms of, should I look at it from a positive side or should I look at it from a dark side? I want to start from the title itself.
Yeah, so it's a fly fishing story. We find out later, and you can see that right on the cover with the red dry fly there and the woods and the water. And so there's these metaphors of water all the way through it. I personally have never been what I would classify as suicidal, but like many people, I've been through depressive times. I've been through times when I've been really discouraged, really unsure or anxious or what have you, lonely, isolated. And there have been times that I've woken up and sort of stared up to the ceiling and thought, hey, if today is going to be like the 100 days that preceded this, I don't know how much longer I want to do this, and it's not so much that I wanted to check out. It's just, I didn't want to live this particular life anymore, And so I tried to take those ideas and kind of turn up the volume on those in order to write this story. Because I think, like I said, that's something that we all have felt. And for me anyway, when I feel that, it's an overwhelming thing, very much like being underwater and struggling to get to the surface to get a breath. You just feel like everything in life keeps coming at you, and not just you're not just inundated with it, but you feel like you're under it. You feel like you're being suffocated and can't breathe. And so that was the visual metaphor that came to me, was the water really rushing over her and her being sort of suffocated by it and drowning in it and unable to breathe. And indeed, that's sort of the first thing that you read in the book. There are several little moments like that she experiences, sort of this metaphoric sinking or drowning. So the very first scene in the film is her sort of having a waking dream of drowning and being unable to breathe, because I think it's a very physical metaphor for what it feels like emotionally to be in that space. Gwen, the main character, you find on page 1, she's decided to take her own life. She's got this event planned with some friends, some acquaintances. She decides, I'll go on this trip. That'd be, a good way to say goodbye. No one else knows what she has planned. It's a fly fishing retreat. She gets paired up with this old fly fisherman named Roy. Roy is a charming old guy, and they kind of hit it off, and their budding friendship starts to challenge her decision a little bit. Gwen is a middle-aged woman. Also on this trip, there's a woman in her 20s named Sam, and Gwen sees Sam and is just observing her and thinks, Sam is kind of where I was when I was her age. Boy, I don't want her to be where I am at my age. And what can I do about that, if anything? And so this sort of three-way tension between the decisions she's made, the encouragement and mentorship that Roy offers, the opportunity to help someone else like Sam, this three-way tension is what sort of pulls Gwen through the story. And that's sort of the rapids, the water that she's navigating. And part of the reason I wrote the story in the first place is my dad's a fly fisherman. And in the few times he's tried to teach me how to fly fish, it's not like normal fishing that I've done where you just sit on the side of the river for a couple of hours and drop your worm in and wait for something to happen. With fly fishing, you're constantly moving, because you throw the fly at the water, it floats back, you throw it again, it floats back. You try that 3 or 4 times. If nobody gets anything, you move on to the next hole, and you just keep moving upriver. You keep moving upstream. The water keeps coming at you, and you keep walking uphill, over rocks, over obstacles, through ice cold water, just constantly moving. And I thought that's sort of the parable that I'm telling here, is the story of someone who has been trying to move upstream to the point where she's just decided to stop moving, and that darkness will just roll over her. And now maybe she's ready to let it, but there's other people in her life that aren't ready for that to happen to her. And so that's the story. It really deals with encouragement, a little bit about mentorship, a little bit about, showing love to other people and kindness and gratitude. It's really about the importance of human connection. And as you said at the very beginning, it's about how, the smallest gestures can have the largest impact. And the things that Roy does in the story aren't miraculous, but they are significant for Gwen at the time that she needs it. And it gives her a model to follow, that she doesn't have to do anything miraculous either, that even something small can not only help somebody else, but can give her a purpose to keep moving as well.
Absolutely, absolutely, Paul. So, should we understand, brother, through this story, that life is all about perspectives? It's not about missing the wood for some trees. Sometimes we just happen to do that, and we are only very fortunate if we come across people who can show us that perspective, and then we know, okay, there is so much to look at. There is so much to look at life in terms of hope, in terms of connection. Why do we wait for others to connect? What is it that you want to convey through your story, and then also the full film, Paul?
Yeah, that's great. So there's a couple of things here. One is one of the first things I noticed after I finished the book. I was discussing it with a friend at home, and it was somebody that I knew, but we didn't know each other very well. Our parents are good friends, and so that's how I know them. But she had read the book, and as we began talking about the book, within a few sentences of talking about the book, she is telling me very personal things about her emotional life from her past, things that you don't normally tell to a stranger. And by the way she was talking about it, seemed like maybe things that she hadn't told many people in her life ever. And here she is telling them to not a total stranger, but somebody that she trusts, but it's somebody she doesn't know very well. And why was she able to do that? Well, she was able to do that because, having read the book, she understood that I understood what she was going through. And I think that's one of the things about these dark times that we get in, is we think no one understands what I'm going through. No one gets it. No one else is going through what I'm going through. And so our perspective, it gets warped and gets very narrow, and we get sort of this tunnel vision, and we sort of come to believe that we're the only one going through this. And so then we don't talk about it. And so then we get more isolated, and it just sort of bores a hole in us, and this abyss gets deeper and deeper. And we feel like we're drowning further and further, going down deeper into the water. That's sort of the metaphor, of course, I use in the book as well. And so by being able to talk about it, now suddenly the perspective shifts of, oh, I'm not the only one. I'm not the only one out here in the water. I'm with other people. We can climb into a life raft together, and we can hold on to each other, and we can get through this together. That's why I created the 5 Coffees in a Book, because I thought if people can just get together and talk and share a little bit about this, they'll see they're not alone. Just the book itself, I hoped, would be something that somebody in a dark time could take to their friends or family and say, would you read this? Because I think it'll help you understand what I'm going through. Or maybe a friend or family member who has, somebody that's going through a dark time might read it and say, this reminds me of my loved one. There's, the characters in here, I think, model some good and healthy responses to somebody who's going through a time like that. So that was my hope too, that for friends and family, it'd be sort of an education of maybe a healthy way to approach some of these things. So that's the first thing. The second thing is, there's an idea that I hit on in the 5 Coffees in a Book material. We hit on it more in the film. I don't know that it's explicitly stated in the book, but one of the lines that Roy has in the movie is he tells Gwen, you only keep what you give away. And she doesn't understand that at first, but as time goes on, she begins to understand it, because she sees not just what Roy is doing for her, but she sees what she wants to do for Sam. And as she decides to pursue that, suddenly that starts to unlock and open. And this is the experience that I've had. Anyone that has children understands exactly what I'm talking about, where, anyway, for me, if I'm in a dark place, I want someone to love me. I want someone to encourage me. I want someone to help me. And, the bad news for me is maybe somebody won't do that. I can't guarantee that somebody's going to come along. It's very serendipitous that Roy comes along right when Gwen needs somebody to kind of shake her up. But let's be honest, I wrote the story. It's fiction. I can't guarantee every person listening to this that someone's going to come into your life and be a Roy, be a mentor, shake things up for you. So that's kind of the bad news. But the good news is the real joy and the real love that you experience, the real encouragement that you get, is when you give it away. If I have money and I give you some, I have less money. If I have food and I give you some, I have less food. That's the economy of tangible things. But the economy of intangible things is opposite. If I have encouragement and I encourage you, I don't have less encouragement. Somehow I have more. And also you have encouragement. So there's 3 times as much encouragement as there was before. If I have love and I show some love and kindness to you, not only do I not have less love, I have more love. And now you have love too. And so now there's 3 times as much love as there was before. And so as soon as people begin to experience that, because it's very counterintuitive, especially when you're in an isolated perspective, an isolated mindset, it's very counterintuitive. But as soon as you start to participate in that, it really opens things up for you. Oh, I need a friend. Okay, then be a friend to someone. People don't think I'm interesting. Well, be interested in the things that they're doing. Be curious, and you'll be the most interesting person around. You only keep what you give away. And so the growth that happens there then is, as I begin to give these things away, I now have a better version of the love I was even hoping to get, a better version of the encouragement that I was hoping to get, a better version of the support or the kindness or the gratitude or whatever I was hoping to get and receive. I have a better version of that coming to me by giving it away. And so the really great news is, while you're not in control of someone coming and encouraging you, you have no control over that. You have complete control over you deciding to encourage and show love to someone else. There's about 8 billion of us that need it. So there's no shortage of people. If the first person doesn't respond to it, you just move right on to the next one. So you have every opportunity to get the love and the encouragement and the support that you need by giving it away rather than waiting for it to come to you. People who are in a dark place, especially if they're suicidal, they might need some emergency help. They might need some emergency therapy. They might need to check themselves into a place. They might need to go to the emergency room, hospital. They might need medication for a time. They might need medication forever. They might need some therapy. There's all kinds of remedies and things that come into this. I'm not a mental health professional. I'm not a doctor. I obviously can't recommend that for every individual listening. But what I do know is every single one of us has got to talk about it with someone. If you're dealing with something, even if you think it's a small thing, share it with somebody else. I think you'll be surprised that they're probably dealing with something similar, that they will reciprocate, that they will empathize. And now you'll have a partner in this journey. You won't feel alone anymore, and you'll be able to keep moving.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That's the most important part. Keep moving, and you get to
Keep
keep
moving.
only what you give it to others.
Yeah.
When is your movie coming out? Any idea on that?
Yeah, no specifics on that yet. Music is very close to being done. Sound design is very close to being done. Color is very close to being done. We have a few visual effects things that are kind of complicated. That's the real stickler there. But it will be out later this year. In the meantime, The Darkness Rolled Over Her, you can get the ebook for free at 5coffeesinabook.com. The 5 Coffees in a Book discussion guide is there as well, so you can read the book and talk about it with a friend. If you want to get the paperback on Amazon, I will take your money. I'm happy to do that. We also have stickers and coffee mugs and things like that. Like I said, I'm an author and a filmmaker. I'm trying to make that my living. So I would love it if you would buy some of those things. But the ebook is available for free. The discussion guide is available for free. They will always be available for free. I just didn't want there to be any barrier in someone being able to get this resource. I think it's that important. I didn't want some, a high school student without a credit card, to even pay 99 cents. I just wanted to make sure that it was available for them to use as a resource. So it's there, it's for free. It's there for you to share. I would love to give away 100,000 copies of the ebook. We've given a few away, not quite close to that yet, but I would love to see people just really embrace the story and share it and talk about the themes in it. 5coffeesinabook.com, get the ebook for free, get the 5 Coffees discussion guide for free, and the movie will be out later this year.
Absolutely. And tell us a bit about how can people be part of 5 Coffees and a Book?
Sure. So if you go to 5coffeesinabook.com, you will see that there is the discussion guide there that you can go through. There's a PDF of it, which you can just look at on your device. You're welcome to print it if you want. There's a lot of colors in it. So, but there is a printable version if you would like to do that. You can also go to our Instagram or our Facebook and just swipe through the pictures. That's probably an easier way to do it for most people. But basically, it's just 5 weeks. And so the idea is that if you're initiating it, all you are is a starter. All you have to be able to do is get 2 or 3 people sitting down at a table together for 5 times. That's it. You don't have to know how to teach. You don't have to be an eloquent speaker. Someone in the group has to be able to read English because all the materials are in English. And so someone needs to be literate. But other than that, all you got to do is get people down at the table to read. That's all you have to do. The discussion guide will do the rest. Week 1 is just kind of getting everybody together and discussing what the plan is, and then telling everybody where they can get the book. By week 2, everyone's read the book. It's a short read, 72 pages. You can read it in one sitting. By week 2, everybody's read the book. You talk about some of the themes in the book. Weeks 3, 4, and 5, you talk about some of the characters in the book. So week 3, you talk about Roy. You talk about encouragement. You talk about someone who's encouraged you in your life, and you're invited to go and thank them, show some gratitude for their encouragement. Week 4, you talk about Gwen and her character development throughout the story and some of the choices that she makes and some of the changes that she goes through. And it gives an opportunity for people to tell their own story if they want. And there's no obligation to do that, but if people want to, they can. And then week 5, we talk about Sam, and we talk about people, who do you know that needs to be encouraged? And the idea would be that you would show them encouragement by taking them the book, by taking them the 5 coffees and doing it again with them for 5 more weeks, so that this would just sort of multiply and keep going. In the discussion guide for the starter, there's also some notes that help them have a safe and healthy environment with which to share. But the very first group that I sort of had guinea pig this for me was people that had known each other and they were good friends. But after week 2 or 3, they'd started a group chat and they were saying, can we keep this going after the 5 weeks is over? Because this is a relationship that I didn't even know I was missing. I didn't even know something was missing out of my life, but now that I have this, I want to keep it. And by week 4, when they were sharing their own story, they had been meeting in coffee shops. They decided to meet at one of their houses, and for 3 hours they shared with each other, and they just opened up and really bonded and really had sort of a magnificent bonding and new relationships. Even the people that had known each other, almost their whole life, suddenly found this new level of relationship unlocked by sharing with each other, by giving away, to each other. And so that's the idea for 5 Coffees in a Book. I don't care if you look at the discussion guide. I just want people to sit down and talk to each other face to face, and let the people in their lives know that they're loved, to encourage each other, and for people to encourage each other to keep moving.
Absolutely. And what about your other projects after the movie? Then another project, any other project that people can keep an eye out for?
Sure. So if you go to 5coffeesinabook.com and you sign up to get the free ebook of The Darkness Rolled Over Her, it will put you on our mailing list. You can unsubscribe from that at any time, but I don't send out a ton of emails. You'll get a few automated emails right at the beginning, but I haven't manually sent out an email on that list in months, because there's nothing new really to say. But if you stay on that list, then you'll be notified when the movie comes out, any new projects that come out, any new books that may come along. I also have a Substack blog that if people want to subscribe to even the free version of that, then you'll get some of my thoughts about writing or filmmaking or various things like that. There's a whole hodgepodge of stuff that's on my Substack blog. My novel, God Rest You Merry Gentlemen, when I got done with it, I was like, this all kind of takes place in one building, and there's only about 20 characters, and it is a period piece. It takes place in 1955, but it's all Air Force guys, and they're all inside in one room, so I don't have to worry about cars and architecture and all that stuff. It's just, just sort of a few props and Air Force uniforms. So I thought that wouldn't be too difficult to make a movie of either. So we've got to build a set. I want to pay everybody this time for sure, but I think that would be my next film project, Lord willing, would be a feature-length version of God Rest You Merry Gentlemen, and we'll make a fun Christmas movie as well.
Wonderful. With this, it's set up on this very special edition of the KAJ Masterclass Live. Thank you so much indeed for joining us.
Thanks for having me.